Today we have Mr. Jim Rogers here with us. Jim has co-founded the Quantum Fund in 1973 and has been investing ever since. He's also a businessman and author of several books, some of which we will touch on today in this interview. Jim is also a world traveler and has traveled around the world more than once and now currently resides in Singapore with his family. It's a real treat for us to get Jim here with us to share his views on the global economy and in particular the precious metals market. So welcome, Jim.
Well, Luke, I'm delighted to be here, and I must say this is quite a find. I didn't know about the vault. I didn't know about the selection of coins you had. I'm going to be a customer. I thought I was just coming. I thought I was just coming for an interview. Now I'm going to spend my money.
We very much welcome you here, Jim. So, as such an avid traveler, in your past travels, you had the unique opportunity to really see things from the ground up. Getting an acute understanding of different cultures, different economies. So in today's current investment landscape, what excites you?
What excites me is the fact that the world is going to have a serious problem in the next couple of years, and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. I hope I'm not one of those people. I hope I survive. Luke, it's going to be the worst in my lifetime. Worst in most people's life. It's not going to be fun. So you should be knowledgeable. You should be worried. Once you're knowledgeable, you're going to be worried, and then you'll be prepared.
What would be some means of preparation you would advise for, let's say, the retail investor to prepare for this?
Well, first of all, nobody should invest in anything unless they themselves know a lot about it. Don't listen to me, maybe listen to you, but don't listen to the internet or television or anything else, because if you're investing in things that you don't yourself know a lot about, when bad times come, even the good times, you're not going to do well. But when bad times come, you're really going to get creamed. So stay only with what you know. And if you don't know anything, put your money in the bank. It's better to earn a little bit of interest than to lose a lot of money. So stay with what you know. Become a farmer. Farmers are going to do well. There are a few things that are going to do well in the coming hard time. Move to Russia, move to China, move to North Korea. There are a few places that will do. Africa, some of the African countries will do well. There are various ways to protect yourself going forward.
Now, you've spoken early on about investing in China when the Chinese government had a better balance of budget. Now, things have changed since then. So do you still hold the same view?
Well, China's going to be the next great country in the world, whether we like it or not. Now, a lot of people who don't like that. But I remind you, Luke, that America was the most successful country in the 20th century. But along the way, we had 15 depressions with a D, had a horrible civil war, very few human rights, very little rule of law. There were massacres in the streets. America was a huge mess at many times, and yet we became extremely successful. China's going to have problems. There are going to be people going bankrupt, especially people dealing with the West or people that have debt, as you point out. No, there are going to be problems, but every person or family or company or country that rises has problems along the way. The Chinese have a wonderful word which does not exist in English. It's Wei Ji, and Wei Ji means catastrophe and opportunity are the same thing. So when you see problems in China, well, when I see problems in China, I hope I'm smart enough to buy instead of panic.
Now, would you say, I've heard some of your previous interviews where you've commented that the Fed was a main cause of the problems that we have seen in the United States economy. What would you say would be the one thing that they would have to get right in order to increase the probability of long-term success in the United States?
Abolish the Fed. That would be the Americans had 3 central banks in our history. First 2 disappeared for a variety of reasons. The world without a central bank has problems. Whereas with this central bank is a problem. They've driven interest rates to nothing, which is destroying a lot of people. They've increased their own balance sheet by 600% in 9 years. 9 years they've done that, which is unthinkable. No, they're causing many of the problems. The interest rates at 0 are wiping out a lot of pension plans, insurance companies, endowments, etc. No, this central bank is a huge problem. It would be great if we could abolish it It's not going to it might happen if things get so bad. As I said, the first two disappeared in America because there were so many problems. This one might too. They're not going to abolish themselves. Maybe somebody else will abolish them. Otherwise, they should just stand aside, leave the world alone, and go to the beach. Spend their time in the bar drinking beer or go to the beach, do anything, but stop bothering us.
Now, the Fed recently expressed that it was looking to reduce its bond position and to shrink its balance sheet. Do you think this is likely?
No, they're saying that, and they're actually going to try. They will, but when things get bad, people are going to call them up and say, you've got to save us, you've got to save us, it's the end of the world. They're bureaucrats, they're academics, they don't know what they're doing. They will panic, and they will try to save the world again, cause a big rally, but that will be the end.
So let's turn our attention to gold now. How do you see gold in the future of the economy, given, let's say, a potential catastrophe happening in the financial markets?
Well, I own some gold, Luke, and I've owned gold for many, many years. Just to show you that I own. I'm not just talking. I haven't bought any serious gold since 2010, but I own it, and I'm not selling it. My plan is that when gold goes under $1,000 per ounce, I hope I'm smart enough to buy a whole lot. It may not, but I've got some. If it goes up from here, I've got plenty of gold. I'm not worried. Before this is over, gold is going to turn into its own bubble, because whenever there are big problems and people lose confidence in governments and paper money, they always buy gold and silver. Doesn't matter whether they should or they shouldn't. That's what they do.
Okay.
So they'll do it again. And so I hope I'm smart enough to prepare for that huge bubble that's coming down the road.
2-3 years ago, you mentioned that you foresaw that the price of gold in terms of US dollars would drop. You were correct in that prediction. Now, did you sell a portion of your holdings in gold so that you could purchase it at a cheaper price?
No, I'm too lazy, first of all. But second of all, I'm not smart enough to time the market. I just own gold. If a bubble develops, I'll have to sell it. You always have to sell a bubble. But maybe a bubble won't happen, and I'll just give it to my children someday. There's nothing wrong with, everybody should have some gold and silver. I'll start my children off with their own gold and silver if it comes to that.
Now, for a new investor looking to add precious metals into their investment portfolio, what advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, learn something about it. But second of all, everybody should have some gold and silver as an insurance policy, if nothing else. Everybody watching this probably has fire insurance or car insurance. You hope you never use it.
Yeah, that's right.
You hope you don't need your car insurance. But if you do, you've got it. You should have gold and silver as an insurance policy, if nothing else. And if you are knowledgeable enough, and if you get it right, you can also make a lot of money if you buy gold and silver and get it right. So you got to have it as an insurance policy, if nothing else, but then learn more. And if you start knowing what you're doing, you might make a lot of money as well.
Now, you yourself are a proponent for precious metals and have been for many years. What would you say is your strongest personal conviction for owning precious metals?
Everybody's got to have some. As I said before, you have to have it as an insurance policy, if nothing else. You hope you never need it. But it's the best insurance policy in the world, and except maybe rice or something like that. But you got to own it, and you have to be prepared. And you can make a lot of money as well. Most other things that you buy, like stocks, that's not an insurance policy. Gold can be a money-making proposition and can be an insurance policy as well.
Now, over the past 5 years, we've seen a trend of gold flowing from the west to the east. So here at BullionStar, here in Southeast Asia, we've seen pretty strong demand over the past 5 years as compared to lackluster demand in the west. What are some implications of this in your view?
The money's in the east. America's the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. Portugal, Spain, Britain, I mean, all these countries are gigantic debtors now. The money's here. That's why the money, the demand is coming from here, and that's going to continue in the future as well. More Westerners will buy when the crises come, but the money's here. I mean, the largest creditor nations in the world are China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore. It's all Hong Kong. They're all here. The largest debtor nations in the world. You can look out the window. If you look far enough west, you'll see them.
In the West, we've done some primary research showing that in London, approximately 6,000 tons of gold are traded every single day over the OTC markets. That's almost double annual mining. And on COMEX, only 1 in 2,500 contracts actually makes it to delivery. Now, is this noteworthy, and is this something that we should be paying attention to?
I don't pay attention to it. I mean, you could say the same about cotton or coffee and lots of other lead, lots of other things. That's the way markets have developed over the past few decades. I mean, conceivably, and I know the gold folks like to say, there's not enough gold in the vaults. Well, there's not. But there's never been enough gold in the vaults. So I don't pay too much attention to that.
Do you foresee that there might be any change in the way gold is traded in the future or how it's priced?
Well, it's certainly going to be more and more over the internet. That's everything we know and do is done on the internet now. So that's going to change to that extent. The floors are already changing. I mean, there is no floor of the New York Stock Exchange. The floor is there, but they play tennis or something. I mean, when I first went there were all these guys. Now, most of it is done on computers upstairs, and that's going to continue to change for commodities, stocks, bonds, everything. You will not see there are not many floors left already. You won't see any in the future.
Do you foresee that there might be a disconnect between the paper price of gold and the physical price of gold in the time of crises?
In a real crisis, there won't be a paper market. You know, the paper markets will close down. There'll be chaos everywhere. So you got to have the gold in your pocket, or in your closet, or in your vault, or something. Because in a real nightmare, chaos, or catastrophe, the paper markets won't exist. Now, we may not have that kind of catastrophe. I'm just saying that but if we do, and we probably will sometime in your lifetime, then the paper markets won't exist.
Now, Jim, you've been here in Singapore for, I think, close to 9 years now. 10 years, wow. We've been doing business here in Singapore for the past 5 years, and we strongly believe that Singapore is one of the best jurisdictions to own gold and to store gold. Would you share a similar view?
Well, I live here. I don't have to live here. They didn't give me any incentives to come here. I just came here on my own. I have gold and silver here. I have some stored here as well. Whether it's the best place or not, I don't know. You can ask me in 30 years. But I'm here, and it is tax-free to buy here. And not all jurisdictions is it tax-free to buy gold and silver, but this is certainly as good a place as any, as far as I know. Probably better, I'll retract that. Better than most, as far as I know.
Now, in conclusion, Jim, if you had to give one piece of investment advice to a younger version of yourself, what would that be?
Why didn't I move to China? Why didn't I stay in China when I first went there in the 1980s? So if I were any age now, in fact, when I was in university, I went to Oxford. I was looking back. I mean, Oxford had a lot of fun. It's a great place. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But I should have gone to China instead of going to Oxford. And I would still, if I could do it all over again, I would go to China. And anybody today, I'm here. I'm here because of China. My kids are here because of China.
On that note, thank you so much, Jim, for availing yourself and spending time with us. Thank you.
My pleasure.